Hello and welcome to Chapter 1, Section 2. We're going to be looking at trade-offs, opportunity costs, and this is really fun. What we're talking about here is the concept that decisions, when we choose something, the best way I heard a person explain it to me was is that every choice is a renunciation. The idea is if I choose to marry one woman for me, then I am renouncing all other women for me. And that's the idea. You're when you make a choice, you're kind of saying no to all of the others, and that's the difficulty of a decision because we want to get it right, and those things that are important. Those are the things that cause us stress, and so that's a lot of what we look at in this course in terms of how do we look at this in a logical way and to make a good decision. Okay, so let's just keep it real simple. We have two options, and that's what we're going to use as our example. And those options is I can either go and go to work and put my kids in a daycare, things like that, or I could stay home and take care of the kids. Okay, so those are my choices, and so each of those choices, stay at home or work, those are trade offs. Stay at home is a trade off, and work is a trade off. So each of the choices. Now, if I have 10 different options, and we can create all sorts of hybrid combinations of work and daycare and all that, each of those would be a trade off. But for our example, we're just looking at the idea of work or stay at home. And so when you start analyzing that, okay, what would be best, and you just got to understand that that's a very personal decision. It's just going to be there is no one right answer. It's what's right for you and your family. And so I know in our life we've had to struggle with this too. Okay, so just look at some of the pictures. I love the picture. The one this lady here. She's obviously not very happy sitting in traffic, and man, it can be very stressful. That's one of the aspects of going to work is you're going to commute. You have to pay for the nice clothing. You're going to go out to eat and all those kind of things. And then the idea would be, okay, well, the benefit of working is, hey, I have something that's intellectually stimulating, and I can accomplish something, and that's exciting, and that's a really cool thing, and we make more money, and that's really kind of cool. One of the downsides of staying at home is, for some people are just not really made out to be, really good stay-at-home parents, and it just drives them crazy. It's too stressful, So notice, both of these situations, there's stress. Okay, work is stressful. Staying at home can be stressful. Okay, and for some people, they're very good at multitasking. And so this could be a thing where hey, we can just juggle the things really well. And so both of these situations can be very beneficial and exciting kind of opportunities. It just depends on how you see it. You're gonna have good things that go with it. You're gonna have bad things that go with it. And so when you make your decision, right, you're doing one thing, you can't do the other. So if you're gonna stay home, then you can't work. Okay, so in that case, the opportunity cost, the next best alternative, would be the fact if you're going to stay at home, then the opportunity cost would be work. Okay, if you choose to work, the opportunity cost would be stay at home. Okay, so if there's three things you're choosing from, then the first runner up, so to speak, is the opportunity cost. And that's those are the things that cause us stress. And so for some people, staying at home, you have wonderful input with your children. I mean, nobody's going to care for your children like you do, but for some people, that's just too much, and then they get overwhelmed by that, and it's stressful, and they're angry, and they feel, like they just can't, grow and have it, contact with enough adults and things like that. It's just different things for different people, and people themselves throughout life can change, and what is enjoyable in one season of your life can change, so there may be a time where you enjoy working, and then maybe a time where you say, okay, I want to stay home and take care of my children or be at home, whatever, and it's going to be a little bit different. Okay, so now notice when you're working, two household earners are working, there's more cash flowing in. Now, that can be good, but, and it's a big but, the idea is you're going to pay more taxes when you make more money. For some people, you actually end up having less money on hand because you're spending money on gas and your car repairs, things like that. You're probably going out to eat more. You're probably having to go through more clothing, things like that for work. It's one of those things where having not having to pay as much because you're not making as much may actually give you more cash on hand. And so um, net income, you have to look at what you really have after you make your decision. That's what you want to look at. Okay. Going back to this idea here is this idea of seniority. I didn't touch on this. When you leave work for a season, you may be giving up a slot that you might not get back. That's a difficult one for some people to deal with, and so you are giving up the progress of your career, and sometimes you might have to take a number of steps backward when you return back to the workplace. But remember, not all decisions are about which one. The right decision isn't always a matter of which one gives you more money. Obviously, the right decision is what you and your family decide is best for you. Okay, another example. This is, a lot of students kind of get in this sort of decision, and we'll be going back to this issue over and over and over this year. So, it's one of those things we just got to kind of work at. The decision here is: do we go to college right away, or do we just kind of forego college or just start working? And for some of you, you have the opportunity. It just depends on the type of job. And every job is different. Every job situation is different. Some jobs, they're really cool. They'll keep training you, and you can kind of work your way up. And in those careers that really benefit, that give you the benefit of training, you might be able to work yourself up into a really good position just by time on the job. The difficulty is if you have to move to another company. Some industries are more fluid than others when it comes to being able to do that. Okay, but let's just keep it real simple. The idea is, do I just start working or go to college? Okay, so obviously, if we choose college, then obviously the opportunity costs would be that money, or the time and grade you may have earned while going to college. Okay, and then another thing to realize, and one of the things we look at, and I know money is not the only issue here when it comes to going to college. Okay, so one of the concepts we look at in terms of money is this idea of deferred gratification. You are putting off something that's beneficial now for something that's better in the future. And so for some people, college is the right time investment for them, and that's one of the things we'll look at here. But that's this concept. When you choose to go to school, it is hard work. It's not easy, and it's people are pretty driven, and for some people, the idea of work and what they do is fun, but some positions don't really give much room for advancement. So it really depends on you what's the right decision. Here's one monetary thing that we've shown, and the idea is, and this is interesting, is that when you go to college, okay, you are going to be spending money. Okay, and we just used averages in terms of how much people tend to spend while they're in school, whether it be tuition, books, things like that. There are ways to save money and work while going to college, and those are things we'll look at. But We're just kind of going with averages, and the idea is we are in debt. Again, the average debt for a college student is about $40,000 by the time they graduate. And graduation, average graduation, is kind of trending a little bit later now. But again, it is still possible to get done in 4 years. Okay, no matter what people tell you. Okay, so the idea is while you go to college, you're going to be losing money and building debt. It means you're in the negative, and maybe you borrowed money, whether from your family or from a bank, to help pay for college. Okay, and then when we start working, the average starting earnings is about $40,000. The reason I didn't put you up at that spot is this represents the debt repayment, meaning you're going to be paying back this $40,000 that you racked up here. Okay, so you're not necessarily going to get $40,000. Now, there's taxes, all that kind of stuff, but that's not what we're looking at. Now, over time, you're going to be making more and more money. Notice how the amount is going up over time. And so, this is an important thing to understand. When you go to college, you're not going to be swimming in money right away, but eventually, it's going to be a big gap between college earners and those that choose to just work at a regular part-time job. Now, when you get a regular job, and again, if you're living at home and all your basic needs are met, then $20,000 is actually a pretty good amount of money. There's just going to come a point when you might want to move out and do your own things and whatever. Okay, so the idea is when you work this kind of job, you're going to get raises, but those raises will tend to be more modest. Okay, so you will make more money as time goes on, but it's relatively stagnant. Now, I want you to understand that there's something out there called inflation. We'll be looking at it later. But what I'm saying is, over time, this $20,000 later won't be worth as much. So you need to be making more as time goes on. So the idea is that over your lifetime, obviously college, assuming we graduate, assuming we get a degree that is needed in the marketplace. Some degrees don't pay that much. Some degrees it's very difficult to get a job. Okay, you're going to be better off financially. Okay, everything else being equal. Okay, but that's not the only choice. For some people, this is not for them. Studying and work and things like that. It's just that type of academic environment is not suited to them, and so they may be better off doing something else. And there's other choices that we can look at. Okay. Okay, so just got to get some definitions out of the way. One is something called a product. You'll often hear me say the word good. It's the same thing. It's things that we can tangibly, meaning we can touch and feel and see, things that you spend money on, things that we purchase and buy. So you'll often hear me say the word product, but I'll sometimes slip over and say the word good. So a service, are things that we do to earn money, things that we purchase, but that's not really tangible. I mean, what I'm doing right now, it's summertime, and I'm not getting paid at this particular moment, but this is all part of my job in setting up these lectures. And so I'm providing an educational service. You're not paying me, but in a way you are whenever you purchase things and sales tax and things like that. But obviously I am a public service, whenever you hear that term, like public school, just means it's government funded. And again, obviously, government comes from the people, and then people, that's where your taxes pay for public. Okay, so when you think of services, some of them pay really, really well, such as being a doctor or a dentist, and teaching pays pretty well. A lawyer. But there are some services, waitressing, janitorial services, cleaning services, where they don't pay much at all. Just picking fruit out on a field. It doesn't pay much money, and so the amount of money you make is not a function of how many calories you burn on the job. Um, it's the education and training needed to get that